So it's been 5 weeks officially since I joined Senja, and the majority of you probably have no clue that this is my first real retainer. Yes, in the 7 years of freelancing and consulting, I have never explored long-term retainer work. And I do have, let me just caveat, I do have a couple of clients who are ad hoc, which means that they literally just pop in every few months. I do something quick for them, troubleshoot, and then they go on their way and I don't hear from them again for months, if ever. Okay, I definitely have a couple people on ad hoc contracts that it's been a good like 2-3 years since I've heard from them. And let me tell you, moving from project-based work into now basically jokingly having a part-time / full-time fractional role has been quite the change. So I figured today it could be fun to do just like a little bit of a chatty video, share about how I'm adjusting, balancing current project-based clients and now this role. And spoiler, I think it's important to share that this is not for the weak. This is not for everyone, because without really good systems, to be honest, this is not sustainable. Unless I had my shit together, this was not going to be where we are today, which is week 6, okay? So before we do all of that, let's just get out of the way and out in the open what my commitment to Senja actually is, because I haven't really shared. I've kind of gotten honestly like back and forth on that because I don't want anyone to like get the wrong idea that I've quit my business or that, I don't know, Sarah's just taking on way too much, because I definitely have not done any of that. But working alongside Ollie really has come at such a great time, if I'm being honest. And this is an additional something that I haven't fully shared with y'all, is that I'm not taking on implementation work anymore. So as of June 1st, you could no longer book me for one-off implementation projects. So what that means is that everyone has to go through my high-level strategy before I even entertain the idea of building anything for anyone. And so that means, higher ticket, less revolving door, and it also means a steep decline in leads, which I knew and I was fine with. And so in making that decision, I knew exactly what was going to happen, but I made it to a point where it would coincide with me launching my program Systems Camp. So as you guys know, I excel at and I absolutely thrive on strategy. I love problem solving, and if I build one more freaking aesthetic dashboard, I'm going to scream. This change comes at a really good time. And, it's really interesting. I was thinking about it the other day that, how everybody, like your body, the human body, goes through an entirely new set of cells every 7 years. I feel like my business is also going through that because I'm in my 7th summer of consulting and I am in full shed mode. And it's been so nice to just like be in this new green pasture of not taking on projects that don't excite me, not taking on clients that I know aren't going to have a long-term relationship, and just sit in this like really nice green pasture of opportunity. And so that being said, of course, I'm still obviously taking on projects that sound exciting and that scratch that build bug every now and again. So like, for instance, I'm working with a university to build a pick your major personality quiz. And that is something, one, it's taken a while to get this project on the books, but I'm actually really excited to share how we're building it and the behind the scenes, because this project is like so not the norm. And I think it's just going to be such a cool entry funnel for them, and being able to see what they want to do with it marketing wise. This is the type of stuff I want to be doing. It's not just checking a to-do box because you think you need to get it done and then that's it, you move on. Like content calendars, they're boring. I hate building content calendars, but something like this that has a lasting impact that you can actually track that's the type of work I want to be doing. And so getting back on track, what I have committed to Senja. So it's really simple, flat monthly retainer. I'm doing about 10 hours a week or so. And I joked the other day that it's like having a part-time job, but I purposely put parameters for myself in signing up for this because one, there's a massive time zone difference between me and the rest of the team. When I wake up, they're pretty much ending their workday. So just keep that in context. And then number 2, you guys know that I live for calendar blocking. So I carve out 2 to 3 hours a day, which allows me to block myself and box myself in order to get what I need done. And then alongside of that is this idea of balancing the work against everything else. So currently I have 4 other projects under systems, and I'm also producing 2 conferences and a team retreat in the next 7 to 9 months that have my full attention. Plus, Systems Camp Cohort 1 is in full swing through the beginning of August. And so systems are absolutely crucial here.
All right.
Quick reality check. If you're still figuring out how to deliver your offer after somebody has paid you, you have built all of your workflows backwards, okay? It doesn't make you a bad business owner, but it just means that your systems are duct tape and vibes, and that is no way to scale your business. So that's why I made you a full playbook to help fix that. My customer journey playbook walks you through every part of your client journey and shows you exactly where your back end is breaking down. From sales to onboarding to client delivery, and yes, even how you get referrals. Ready to dive in? You can grab it for free below.
It'd be a lot cooler if you did.
Now back to the video. And I know you're sitting here going, Sarah, why do you do this to yourself? And listen, I love a good work project. I love rolling up my sleeves, getting dirty, and getting stuff done. I thrive on this kind of stuff. I think it's the point of entrepreneurship and freelancing and consulting and whatever freaking word that you want to use. This is the whole point, is to explore and to have new experiences and learn different skills. I mean, I talked about this in my first Sanjay video where I don't do affiliate marketing, but here I am using data to rebuild their affiliate program. And it's such a cool, new challenge for me. And so why not? But of course, put the systems around it so I don't lose my mind. So we already talked about time blocking, but to dive even deeper into that, I basically have 1 to 2 hours per day blocked by all of the topics that I just shared with you. And of course, some days I'm going to have more to do in one area than another. And so I go over. And so it's important to set that time aside just to kind of keep those parameters going. And one thing I cannot stress enough here is that absolutely 10,000%, I still add every single thing to my calendar. And so, for instance, one of my responsibilities at Senja is now I'm running office hours, I'm running affiliate webinars, and I'm also running our quarterly town halls. And so I have varying days where I have to be quote unquote on, and that's really impacted my own outputs. And when I schedule meetings or even record content, I wrote kind of the script of this video last night at 11 o'clock, and I just happen to have 30 minutes right now. So I'm ooh, I'll just film this video really quick. So pre-planning is really important. And to that point, pre-planning the actual work I'm going to do. So with project-based work, you have a set cadence of items, but with retainer, at least in my current experience, you don't. I have larger projects with smaller items inside of that, but what's been really helpful is I curate what I'm calling a weekly summary of what I plan on getting done the next week in order to keep me on track. So I do that on Friday afternoons, and I do that across the board, not just for my commitment with Senja, but across the board for my business. And I've always done this where at the end of the week, I sit and I spend 20 minutes and just recap what maybe I didn't get to, what is based on upcoming due dates, things like that I can put my focus on for the next week. I also side note for that is the time that I'm canceling calls that I just don't have time for anymore, right? So pre-planning, because I never want to be somebody who at 9 o'clock on the day of I have a call, I have to be that person that's got to cancel that, don't have time for that. So that all happens Friday afternoons. And it was really easy to just incorporate Senja and my commitment into a process that I'm already doing. So the next thing, and probably the worst and hardest part, not even worst, but hardest part of joining in a retainer fractional capacity has been staying on top of notifications. So I'm definitely going to make another video about this, but when I say Senja is organized, baby, I have never, and I've worked with 400 businesses. Well, actually, I think it's 416 now. I have never seen such efficiency at a company before. And I mean, to the point where I've had to retrain my brain to say, ask Notion AI, because 90,000% there's already an SOP written. I have never been in a relationship with a brand like this ever before in my life. And so I guess, it does depend on the type of retainer you're doing. But in this instance, I've been fully integrated into their processes, their tech, their systems. This is not a, hey, client, come to this client portal and interact with me on my side. That's like not it. And also, you guys know how I feel about client portals. So I will move on from that comment. But not only did I have to like get used to the fact that like all of this exists, but I did actually have to learn a couple of new tools and come to realize, that in that every single day I'm going to wake up and there's several notifications because everyone is at minimum 6 hours ahead of me. And I will always have to prepare the night before because calls, at least for me, are first thing. Like this morning, great example, we had an 8 a.m. call because it was the only time that we could all be on a call together because someone was in Australia, which means it was midnight for them, but 8 a.m. for me, like midnight the next day, And so all of that, like staying on top of notifications, integrating myself into the tools that they already have has been the biggest learning curve that I really honestly like wasn't prepared for and wasn't expecting, but it's been nice to have structure. That's all I'm going to say. So I will definitely make an updated video about that, like another video if you want to learn more. So just like comment that you do. To achieve kind of staying on top of notifications, not losing my mind, the best thing that I did was that I created a label inbox strictly for anything Senja related. And so in my systems email, I have varying groups within my email. And so anytime Senja is mentioned in an email, it's auto-labeled, pulled out of my main inbox and put in this area. And so I only open up this little toggle when I'm quote unquote on the clock. And, I think for anyone that has retainer clients, this is really the best way to go. And then I just block like 5 minutes out of every day to just clean out my comms, realign focuses, create new tasks depending on kind of what's there before I close my laptop. And that is just email, okay? So there are 3 other places where I am getting Senja notifications. And I remember, I think it was like week 2, and I just remember waking up like on a Monday or starting my day. It was either like a Monday or Tuesday, and I had 38 notifications. And I spent over an hour just going through, and I was like, no. Like this has to change immediately. And so that was the hardest piece to navigate of like actually making sure that I'm spending the right time on the right things and only looking at notifications that are important for what the projects I'm working on. And so luckily with that, it's kind of cool inside Senja because every platform has a different degree of response necessity. So what I mean by that is Senja uses Linear for project management, and that obviously takes precedence over anything else. And then Notion is where like our knowledge base, our internal knowledge base, assets, data reporting, all of that lives there. So notifications there are not as important. Obviously, they're still important, but they're not. Usually it's more of like, hey, I rewrote this SOP, like, please review it. And then they use a tool called Fernand, which takes precedence over Linear, at least in my role, because that's customer facing. And so I'm managing the partners email. And so, sending the affiliate newsletter, sending out notifications to come to office hours, and also like building relationships back with the trust and communication for affiliates is my top priority. And so I have a healthy balance of checking that once a day and then managing everything else in Linear. And so in the order that I mentioned, I then task manage from there. I think I already said that. But like, there might be a notification of something that pops up and it's like, oh, I need to do this and add this to my to-do list, in the next couple of days. And so making sure that I prioritize correctly. And, I think I've already kind of said this, but like, I knew that this was going to be a change and a really fun challenge. I mean, I've been quote unquote out of the workforce for a while, and I don't ever work with teams. The last time I had such involved teamwork really was when I had my day job. As a consultant, I have always worked on my own, and even like with clients that have even had like long-term contracts with me, but they've been strictly project-based, you're really not engaging with people to this level. I mean, as a team, we are talking multiple times a day, and that has been a change for me too. And frankly, like I've always joked not even joked, but like, yes, I love my business, but I miss the human component of work. I really do. I mean, you guys know, like, I hate working from home. I miss being in an office. I miss the quote unquote water cooler and the warm body. I miss brainstorming on whiteboards. And I didn't realize how much I was going to love this project and this commitment until I got into it, because it's fulfilling those gaps and those bubbles, if you will. It's like putting me back in the bubble that I know that I thrive in, you know? To that point, like, I think it's probably really clear just like how burnt out, not even burnt out, but just frankly like bored from the revolving client door that I've had for so long. And you know, like, the work's fun. Like, I've definitely done some really cool projects, but I feel like I've gotten to a point where I'm just like a little too efficient, because people are in and out working with me in a month or less. And like, that's it, you know? I think the other thing from that perspective is the projects that I've done, there's been no potential for retainer in this capacity. Like, every client, like looking back, every client that I've worked with over the last at least even 2-3 years have had somebody internally to then maintain the work that I've done, to champion the work that I've done. And so there's no space for me. You know, that's fine, but I think that I'm at a point where I'm just lonely. I think that's really what this comes down to, is like, as a solo consultant, I'm lonely. And so it's been really fun to be able to build something alongside other people, because I just haven't done this in so long. And I know that you're probably wondering, like, Sara, is retainer your future? Absolutely the fuck not. I know that contradicts everything that I just said, but I think what makes all of this so special is that I have known Ollie in a social capacity for years now. I remember getting an email talking about Senja, like being brand new. And I don't even know who introduced me to Senja, but I just remember like being in it at the very beginning, you know? And then last year I did some hourly consulting for Ollie, and kind of like from an operational perspective, put some like maps and just some like, you know, larger scale thoughts and solutions there. And so, you know, I have a relationship with this brand, and I would not do this for any other company unless that relationship existed. I think working in a fractional capacity, you have to understand human habits and personalities. And, you know, like a lot of people have been like, well, you know, because I joke that I'm a C-suite companion, right? Because I sit between COO and CTO. But I also think that in order to work alongside a CEO, you have to understand their quirks. You have to understand why they make the decisions that they do in order to support them and support the team. And I even said this to Ollie this morning in our call, you know, or after our call, you know, I was meant to run the call this morning, but I actually really appreciated him jumping in and not necessarily taking over the call, but it gave me an opportunity to see how he runs calls and the expectations, so I can further match that energy, not necessarily something conflicting, but really just support him in how he wants to run his business and the company, and also show up in that way equally, right? So to that point, like becoming someone's right hand is not an easy feat at all. And, you know, you have to have trust there. There has to be respect. And none of that is really built by just paying an invoice and like waiting for the work to be done, which I think is the misconception of retainer work. And that's why I think when we think about retainer, there's so many spokes of that. You've got the productized, whatever, it's retainer work. You have fractional work, you have ad hoc, you have, you know, all these different options. And the way that I see, if I were to explore retainer work in this way again, is what do I need to do in order to build that trust, in order to build that communication and be just an asset, not a twiddle my thumbs and just kind of take the money until I'm needed. I don't want any relationship in this capacity to have to think to need me. I want to be showing up before they think about those things, So anyway, I'm going to hop off my soapbox, but let me know in the comments if you want to know like more behind the scenes of this project. I've got some like cool ideas from an ops and systems and data perspective that I would love to share with you guys. So drop in the comments if you want to see those. And yeah, I'll see you next week.
Ew.
Hey, did you know that staying up till midnight answering client emails isn't a business strategy? Download my free customer journey workbook and start fixing the systems breaking behind the scenes today.